to Earnestly Speaking NBA show here on the Earnestly Speaking podcast. I am your host, Earnest. EJ Christian recording. It's actually a day earlier than usual on a Monday. That is, by the way, June 1st, 2026. We now officially summertime here, at least on my side of the world, where my kids are out of school after this week. But we still press on. And of course, we are joined here by my co-host, my partner in crime, of course, of NBA analyst, author, Greg Hrinya. We've arrived. Greg, we've arrived, and yet we have gone back 27 years. It's like 1990 all over again. What's up, Greg?
Good one. Yeah. No, nothing much. The weather's turned here a bit too, so no complaints. So it's summer here as well.
When you say turn, you mean warmer?
Yeah. It's warmer. It's in the 70s now. So,
brother, it is so freaking hot the last couple weeks. Like it feels like there's like obviously we're always warm for the most part in Florida. Yeah. But the humidity doesn't really become a thing until probably in July, August, September. Mm-hmm. We're getting like August, September, July weather like much earlier. I mean, and that's kind of been a trend for the last couple of years. So I shudder to think how if it's this hot and humid now, how bad it will be later in the summer. I'm really worried because I don't mind the heat. I know we discussed this in the past. I'm like you don't mind the heat and the heat's fine. It's just that I tell you I don't mind the heat either. It's just I don't like humidity.
Yeah. I mean, if it's 80 and humid, it could feel like it's 110 and you can't even breathe. So I
can't breathe, bro. I can't breathe. I feel sticky and I feel tired and it weighs me down.
I'm fine with a dry heat of 110.
I can do dry heat. That's fine. I can do dry heat. So we got lots of on the show today. Obviously, we are officially. It is the NBA Finals. It is Knicks and Spurs. Like I said, 1999 all over again. We'll preview that in just a second. I want to play this clip with you also too later on the show. Rich Paul sent social media, in a frenzy over the weekend with some comments he made about Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and about the finals. I've already discussed it on the show already. I recorded a podcast last night with my co-host on the Falls Count Anywhere show. We did an actual regular podcast last night, him and I, talking about things outside of wrestling. But he's also a big Knicks fan too, also. So we kind of, that was the reason why he had him on the show, to talk Knicks. But we did discuss the Rich Paul thing, and there's actually some really clip-worthy stuff in there. And then, of course, LeBron James, there's some reports that he won't take a pay cut to return to Cleveland if the opportunity arises. But we'll discuss that on the show. But before we get to the NBA Finals, all that stuff, let's go ahead, as we've been doing all playoffs long, let's retire the teams that lost. And, of course, the OKC Thunder, who are the defending NBA champions for another 2 weeks, probably. That's over now. We're gonna have a new champion for the 8th year in a row. The Thunder are down in 7 games. Greg, what kind of grade give the Thunder?
I'll give them a B. I think I would have given them higher had I not watched that series play out. So I think that they have a few more question marks than I think they would have 2 weeks ago. Like the way Chet played for one, the entire series, like that's concerning. So I mean, if they had just lost a 7-game series, both teams play well. You say, okay, San Antonio is really good, but like I actually have some questions about how they're going to structure their team going forward. I mean, they're an expensive team, so I mean, they might not have Hartenstein back, they might not have Lou Dort back, and maybe that's okay with Lou Dort because he was really up and down in the series, especially shooting wise. But Jalen Williams' health, I mean, he wasn't healthy all year. Given the injury that he had, I put a lot of that on him. The wrist injury last year, like that's a freak thing, but when you're battling hamstring injuries all year, soft tissue injuries, like I'm looking at diet, training, rehab, preparation.
Yeah, you were critical last week of that.
All that sort of stuff. So I mean, I'm going to put a lot of that on him. So I mean, he's got to prove next year that he's in shape and can return. But I mean, they obviously need him, given what the team looked like without him. I mean, when we talk about the Spurs and the Knicks, I mean, we're going to talk about the Knicks not being tested. I don't know if the Spurs were completely tested either because, they played a team that was basically SGA and no other creators. Right. Jalen Williams wasn't there. AJ Mitchell wasn't there. And Chet totally disappeared. I mean, his performance, not only in the finals last year, where he wasn't great, but then largely for this series outside of Game 5, is concerning given that he's
But could you chalk that up also to the opponent he's facing? Like, and I'm not sitting there saying, Chet, no, look, we agree. Chet should play better, without a question. 4 points is atrocious. But you're also playing probably right now the best player in basketball.
Yeah, but that's the team that they're going to have to beat, going forward every year. They're going to have to go through them every year. So if he's got some sort of hang up about going up against Wemby, that's not going to get better because Wemby,
which by the way, is a real rivalry. Dude, those guys hate each other. They came to the league hating each other. That's a real rivalry.
But Wemby's younger and better. So I mean, like that's not going anywhere. My issue with Chet isn't so much that he scored 4 points. It's that he didn't even apply himself in the game. I look at Alex Caruso. He went 3 for 14. Like that's a terrible game by any measure. But he went out swinging. He went out trying. It's not like he, left any bullets in the chamber, as it were. I mean, I look at Chet and it's like without Williams, without J-Dub, without AJ Mitchell,
right?
SGA, who had a phenomenal game in Game 7, like he stepped up to the occasion. He needed someone to help him. They needed someone else to come along for the ride. And considering you're about to, start your max extension, not applying yourself, not even trying to be part of, of the equation, even if it's just taking 5 threes and you miss all 5 of them and you finish, 2 of 9 or 2 of 10, at least go out there and try. And look, Evan Mobley had a similar issue in the series, I want to say against the Knicks, where he was like 5 of 8 in the first half and didn't take a shot in the second half. But where I'll differ there is that he had Mitchell, he had Harden. You have 2 guys dominating the ball, and then they're looking to get threes out of Sam Merrill, out of Max Strus. Like,
right.
Oklahoma City didn't have any of that. They needed someone. Case and Wall stepped up, which was good. But I mean, they needed their second, of their big 3, they needed their second guy to step up, and he didn't even, it wasn't that he played poorly. It's that he didn't really apply himself. So that to me is more concerning than if he had just gone 3 for 14 like Alex Caruso did.
When you say concern about the Thunder, for example, like you're concerned more about how they stack up against San Antonio. That's the only gate in the way of them getting back to where they were last year. Because everybody else in the league, I think they're better than that.
Yeah, but this is the worst version of San Antonio that you're going to see.
Yeah, right.
Because
exactly.
all these young guys are not only going to get better, but they still.
No, I'm just saying no other team other San Antonio is better than LKC.
Yeah. True.
Okay.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the obstacle standing in their way because San Antonio has all their assets still as well. It's not like they had to purge everything to put this team together. Like, yes, a lot of it is lottery luck, but some of that's also like when they got Dylan Harper, they had 2 cracks at it. They had the Hawks pick, they had their own pick. So they had, 2 lottery combinations that could have gotten them there. One of them hit. So, I mean, they played some odds and it worked out well for them. They tanked for Wemby. Right. That worked out well for them. Obviously, with the Castle draft, they needed a bunch of teams to pass on him. But look, that's good drafting.
Well, that's good drafting, good scouting.
Yeah, but it's not like they had to trade a whole bunch of picks to get any of these guys. So they still are loaded with assets and contracts and whatnot. Your Harrison Barnes of the world and so on and so forth. So I mean, like this team's not getting worse. And look, OKC's got plenty of assets too. They've got the second most available picks to trade in the entire league. So I mean, it's not as if they don't have assets to move. But if you're looking at this series and you're panicking, and I'm not saying they should, but if you're panicking after this series, Chet is not like if you look at Giannis, for example, and say,
just gonna get there. We do this a long time now. I think we get each other now. You know where you're going with this.
But the thing is, like, if I'm Milwaukee and I just saw the way Chet played in that series, like, I'm not interested in that deal. And then if you're OKC, why am I giving up Chet and then 3 or 4 first-round picks to make that deal? Like that, at that point, I'm just giving up too much for a guy who's past 30 and injury-prone, and now you're shortening your window.
It's amazing. Go ahead.
But they are in sort of this, like, a little bit of a murky area where it's like the way Chet played gives me some pause going forward, and that's why I gave him a B, because if you had asked me before the series started, I'm like, there's no way that even if they lose this series, they're going to be anything but an A or an A minus. You just chalk it up to the injuries and you move on. But like, I'm a little concerned about Chet and how he played.
It's one thing that if Jalen Williams is there and he scores 4 points, okay, you can still make up the ground because of Jalen Williams being there. But when Jalen's not there, you're now number 2. You got to step up. You got to step up. You got to show something. As you said, empty the barrel of your gun. And he didn't do any of that. And then some.
And I don't even mind if he plays poorly. Like if he shoots 3 for 14 like Caruso did, it's like, okay, he had a bad game. So
he was frustrated, obviously. It's clear he was frustrated.
Wemby's really good. But for him to not even give an effort to try and be that second guy with SGA carrying the entire load, and then you have Case and Wallace, the only guy that really stepped up, mainly in the fourth quarter. It's like that's a tough sell for a guy who's about to start like a 5-year, $290 million
right,
or whatever it is.
So I've seen it.
He can't guard Wemby, so, and that's the team they need to go through. So I mean, like they have some questions now that I don't think were present a week ago. And I know they struggled against San Antonio in the regular season, but I don't necessarily chalk the regular season up to much because different guys are in and out of the lineup, so it's not as big a deal. But with everything on the line, I think that there are a few question marks, which is why I gave him a B.
Right. So I'm seeing a pattern here, and it's now it's a 5-year sample, and it's going to kind of like make sense. Obviously we talked about earlier about the fact that we're going to have a new NBA champion for the 8th year in a row, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to 2021, right? 2021, the Bucks won the title, right?
Yeah.
What was the conversation around Milwaukee when the Bucks won? They'll get another one probably, or maybe 2, because Giannis is at top of his game, blah, blah, blah. And we also base it not only on the internal of the team and the player they have, but the external in terms of the environment. There's no one that's we see on level, at least for the next year or two, to compete. And then they don't get there. The Warriors get there in 2022, right? They revamp the roster. Steph is whole again. Clay's great. They bring Wiggins, all that. Ooh, they're pretty good. They may win on the title. It's all said and done. That doesn't happen. We go to 2023. Denver and Jokic is in his climb. And we say, oh, this core of Jokic and Murray and Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., they got to win at least another title, right? And then Minnesota clips in the next year in the playoffs, right? Then we go to Boston. Boston finally gets to the mountaintop, right? Tatum and Brown, probably the best duo in basketball. They just win it again. And we all said this too. They win another one, at least one more. When it's all said and done. That doesn't happen. You go to last year. The Thunder has been on this ascent. Buildings ascent. Draft picks, assets, blah, blah, blah. Young enough. And they're just winning 6 games every year. They finally get next year. And with them with the Thunder, even bigger than all these teams we just mentioned, this team could win the next 3 or 4. Well, it's done. Because we didn't think San Antonio's climb would be this quick. We thought maybe 1 more year. You and I agreed. They're a top 6 team in the Western Conference. Yeah. We agreed to that, right? Remember?
Yeah.
But I don't think they're ready to beat the Nuggets just yet. And not because of Wemby. It's because of the other pieces. Are they ready to elevate? Because remember, they're young. Oh, no. I think San Antonio is the right answer. And here's why. None of those guys, I mean, at the stages when they won the titles, because pertaining to Curry, Jokic, Giannis, Tatum Brown, of course, none of them are Wemby.
Yeah.
None of them are Wemby. Wemby is special in comparison to everybody else. Say Steph Curry only. And I say Steph Curry because Steph Curry won that was his late title. Maybe if we're talking about Steph Curry 2015, different conversation. I think Wemby is the correct answer. Now, obviously, they got to win this year first before we have the conversation. But my point is, there's a pattern brewing here.
Yeah.
With teams we think, oh, there's a window. And, oh, wait, someone leapfrogs them. I think San Antonio's the right answer, really, if we think about it. Because we've all been saying it's a matter of Wemby. Because we know Wemby's ceiling is the greatest of all time. We've been saying that.
But also, like, we look at Wemby, like, yes, he could be the MVP for 5, 6, however many straight. My point
exactly.
Years. But he's got to stay healthy. Like Jason Tatum.
That's the rub. That's the rub.
Jason Tatum tore his Achilles, and that's, what derails Boston. Like, Wemby seems like a guy, given his size, who could get hurt. He's, missed games before in his career. So, I mean, he's got to stay healthy. And if he stays healthy, then San Antonio's, they're set forever. But, it's a physical game. It's a long season. It's a long playoffs. Teams are gonna learn, I think, from these playoffs and play him a certain way going forward. And, we'll see if, he takes that physicality and stays healthy and all that. But you're right. I mean, on paper, the way it looks now, I mean, Defensive Player of the Year and MVP, you can just pencil him in for the next 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, at least.
But you listed all those other teams. A lot of them had circumstances too for why they didn't. So
Well, the Wemby circumstance will be the injuries because what we saw. Here's what's crazy about the game 7. By the way, well, I'll get to the grade for the Thunder in a second. Wemby didn't play that great on Saturday night. He had an okay game. He scored 22.
Yeah, 22. I believe.
Okay, that's not typical Wemby. That's below his numbers across the board. What was the difference in that game between the Spurs and Thunder? The other pieces elevated.
Yeah.
Those core pieces we're going to see for the next 5 to 8 years. The Castles and Harper, of course, that maturity there you saw. That's a difference because Wemby now is elevating guys in ways that you can't put on a stat sheet. That's the difference with Wemby. That's the stuff that Jordan did, to some extent LeBron did in their peak. They're elevating guys to play past their potential because of how good they are. It elevates other guys around them. And that's what Wemby's doing now this is his third year in the league. So that's why the difference I saw on Saturday. Having said that, in terms of letter grade, I have a hard time going lower than a B+, but higher than A- because you have to bake in the finish. We also have to bake in the fact that they still had the best record in basketball, where Jalen Williams missed two-thirds of the season. Mm-hmm. That's why people text me in the game, oh, SGA should win MVP. Bullshit. SGA was the MVP, okay? Because he didn't have Jalen Williams for most of the year. His sidekick. And there's something to be said that if Jalen Williams is healthy in this series, we may get a different result. Maybe. I don't know. Now, based on how it played out, I say no because even when he did play, they lost all the games he played. Well, game 2, but game 2 he was out in the first quarter, I think. Well, second quarter maybe. So I don't even count that. But there's something to be said that if Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell were healthy throughout the series, and San Antonio was relatively healthy most of the series, other than not having Fox for game 1, I think was. We might get a different result, right? Do you think? Do you feel that way too, or you think Spurs still would have won this thing?
Yeah, two things. One, I think that if AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams were healthy, I think OKC definitely would have won the series because there was nobody else that could create outside of SGA. So it was just too much of a load on him to carry for a 7-game series. That's one. And two, I think if anything, this series magnifies why SGA should have been MVP.
Thank you.
Because you look at the way Chet played, you look at not having Jalen Williams. If anything, you say, oh, they won 62 games without having Jalen Williams pretty much the entire season. And this is what they looked like against a really good team. It was SGA and nobody else to win 62 games. And it's a regular season award. I think that really solidifies the fact that he was MVP. Now, again, going forward, it's going to be Wemby's to lose.
Of course.
But for this specific season, I don't think you can really argue with SGA's MVP this year.
I'm going to go A- because I have to give credit to OKC. And again, the circumstances didn't play that way. And by the way, I'm a little surprised no one's talking about the injuries either with Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell. I'm a little surprised by that. And I think maybe because of the fact that they figured what they saw in game 3 with the bench scored 74 points. That's what we expected. No, that's an anomaly.
But I'm looking at it now like, is Jalen Williams, is he going to have an injury-prone tag on him?
That's my question. I agree with you.
Because this is now 2 years in a row that he's battled some kind of injury. And the reason why I went B is because it's like, okay, I know that you have a top 3 player at worst in the league in SGA. You know, if you're figuring Jokic and Wemby in whatever order you want to put them in. So, like, you have an amazing player. But Chet, I have questions about. And I could ask those same questions about Jalen Williams, not about his talent, but just about his ability to stay healthy and stay on the court. So, like, that concerns me about Jalen Williams, and something else concerns me with Chet, But, I mean, you have 3 max players. 1 you feel amazing about, and 2 I've got some questions about. So, I mean, I don't know that it's as clear cut as just, this trio is going to lead us to a dynasty because, like you said, we thought all those other teams were going to get multiple championships. And I could start asking questions about this nucleus that I might not have been asking before. So, you know, I
But
don't
you
know.
don't.
I
But if
don't
you're
know that
Sam,
I don't
if
know
you're
if
Sam, go
they're
ahead, go
gonna
ahead.
break it up or anything like that. But I mean,
I
you
was
know,
just going to ask you that.
if you're Sam Presti, you are at least gonna look at the way it's constructed and say, what do we have to do to this roster to improve it? I mean, you know, I don't think it's it's definitely not a
So
Giannis
let me
type.
ask. So Greg, let me ask you then. You're Sam Presti right now. Okay, you're Sam Presti. We're the GM hat for a second.
Mhm.
You're now entering this offseason. See what happened this year. Do you panic and you make the big move for Giannis or another big piece and shorten your window in some ways, or do you keep the core together that won a title last year and has won 6 games 3 years in a row, and just make ancillary piece moves around that?
Yeah, that's what they're gonna wind up doing. I mean, if they make it,
No. What would you do? I'm saying, forget what he might do.
oh no, I would do the same thing as what he would do. I
Ancillary
wouldn't.
pieces. You
Yeah,
stick with these young guys, right?
but I would say, like, I would try and see if I could go get a Trey Murphy from New Orleans. I wouldn't say that's an ancillary piece. I would say that's a big piece, but that's not like
Mm-hmm.
a Giannis. That's not like it's not like
Right.
you're trying to go get Donovan Mitchell or Giannis or some, Evan Mobley or, one of those guys. I would say a Trey Murphy, a guy who can stretch the floor and shoot threes. Because I think what this series showed is that they had a dramatic lack of shooting.
Yes,
That
it did. It did.
without AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams, they needed another guy who you could reliably put on the perimeter so that when SGA gave up the ball, somebody else might be able to make a shot. So, I mean, what were they in the last game? 12 of 35 shooting. I think they shot 34% from three. I mean, like
It's terrible.
that wasn't going to be enough to beat San Antonio, who had 17 threes and who has Wemby on their team in addition to that. So, I think that the big move for them would be a guy like Trey Murphy, but it's more likely that they're just adding around the perimeter,
I think,
or just running it back.
Yeah, I think getting a Giannis is for a team like OKC, bro. Unless you're convinced that Chet can't come back from this, I mean, let's forget he did make third All NBA team this year. Let's not act like that sucks. He's had a bad series. Okay, so maybe the issue is that he didn't play one big series. Okay, and there's something to be said about that. But it's not like Chet sucks all of a sudden now. Chet made All NBA team this year, third team. And Jalen Williams. My thing is, if you think that Chet can't come back from this, number one, and number two, to your point, is Jalen Williams officially now on that tag of he's really good, but like Anthony Davis, can't stay healthy. Then maybe you go down those waters. Otherwise, you can't buy a core like this who've now played together for I think 3 years, technically 3 years, because Chet, first full year was 2 years ago. That you can't buy that. You can't just out of thin air. You got to run the core as long as you can. Because and not only that, with Giannis, I'll say it again, and you and I agree on this.
Mm-hmm.
You get a Giannis, it's good for the short term. Giannis ain't getting better. And Giannis it's not going to fall a lot faster than you realize.
It's never been Sam Presti's way to shorten a window. He's always looking at ways to extend the window. So I feel like by going after Giannis, you're basically taking what was a limitless window with all the picks and assets and whatnot that they have.
It's a panic move.
Now he's going to be crunching it down to 2 years, essentially. That doesn't seem like something that they would do, and it doesn't seem like a smart thing to do either. Like, I could see why Miami would make that move, but
that's different. They're in a different situation. They're a little bit older.
Yeah.
OKC and San Antonio have the same window. They're in the same window. They really are.
Yeah.
The big difference, though, is that San Antonio has that generational guy next door. Outside of that, they're fine. They're right there.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just a piece away, another tweak to beating the Spurs.
Yeah, but
that's all I'm saying.
The issue is that I think that Dylan Harper is a generational player too, and that's what's
if he lifts now, and because he's the Jalen Williams of that team.
Because I mean, to me he looks like James Harden who can play defense. So I mean, maybe he's not going to be able to shoot the three as well as James Harden, has
yet anyway.
Not that James Harden's ever been like a 42% 3-point shooter,
right?
But I look at him as a guy who is strong. He's tough. He can get once he gets in the paint. He can score from anywhere on the floor basically, and this is the worst he's going to be given that he's a rookie. So
right, and very mature too for the record. That little run where like Castle got fouled and he started reacting, and Harper really said, "Yo, chill out. We're in a game 7." That's maturity. That's
Yeah.
that. So, all right. So we're here. It's 1999, Craig. Knicks Spurs. Again, you had asked me 3 weeks ago. I would have said to you, the Knicks have no shot against any of these two teams in the Western Conference, which is OKC or San Antonio Finals. No shot. No shot. I feel completely different now. And for a lot of reasons, not just the fact that New York's looks so good, because I do think there's something to be said that the level of competition they've faced has been much lesser than what hell said.
I lost you for a second.
Just cut off. Wait there?
Yeah. For like 11 seconds, you froze.
Okay, hold on. They're not.
I don't know if that's.
Sorry, my internet was giving me a little issues, but okay. Yeah, I think Minnesota, who they beat in the second round of playoffs, is actually better than all three teams they face in the East: Atlanta, Philly, and Cleveland, in my opinion. So San Antonio's definitely faced more challenges in comparison to the Knicks. Having said that, the Knicks have gone on a heater now where they're not just beating teams, that they're beating them by way more than I thought we probably thought they would do in a consistent matter through this 10-game, 11-game winning streak they've been on. Having said that, the only thing, and on top of that too, also, the only thing that would make the Spurs, worry me, and I don't think it will be an issue, but the only thing that would worry me is that maybe their youth comes out for a game or two. Maybe the too young for the moment thing. But I think these moments they've gone through with OKC and Minnesota, winning these big games when they're back against the wall, has shown me a lot also too. So we'll go there. Having said that, how you feeling the series? Who you leaning? What's your prediction? Anything? All that.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that last point. I don't know that San Antonio has been challenged as much as we'd like to think either. I mean, Portland wasn't, that this isn't their moment. They're still young and building. Minnesota, Edwards was a shell of himself because he had a knee problem. DiVincenzo, tore his Achilles, wasn't a factor. DeSumo missed a couple games, wasn't a factor. So, I mean, Minnesota was far from full health too. And then you look at OKC, they go 7 games against a team that's missing their, second and third best shot creators. The argument could be made, San Antonio should have, taken care of them earlier, given what they were missing. But I will say that even with all that said, that's still tougher than what the Knicks played. Although the Knicks, to your point, were beating all these teams by 30 points. So, I mean, like, they were blowing them out. It wasn't like they were struggling to get by. So, I mean, I think going into the finals, I'm probably more impressed by the Knicks. Having said all that, as far as a prediction, I think I would take San Antonio in 6. Only reason being is I don't know where they're going to be able to hide some of their defenders. Not that Cat hasn't been great. I think he's probably played the best defense of his life so far in the playoffs. But your ideal matchup, I would think, would be putting OG Anunoby on Wemby just because of his physicality and how good he is as a defender. And then where do you put Cat at that point? There's nowhere else to hide him. And then also there's no place to hide Brunson. So, I mean, the questions that we had all year about, 40% of their lineup can't defend, that hasn't materialized in the playoffs. Cat's been a great defender, but you basically would have to put Cat on Wemby, and I think that's a terrible matchup for the Knicks. If you put OG on him, then who else is Cat going to guard? He's not, maybe you stick him on Champagny, because I think ideally you'd want a lesser offensive player that he could help off of to then help with Wemby in addition to what OG is providing. You want to give a second level of defense. It almost might be that Mitchell Robinson is the better center for this series, but you need Cat's offense, you need his playmaking. So I feel like they're in sort of like a little catch-22 there, like how they're going to play the lineup.
You just hit something that's important to me.
One more thing. They have no place to hide Brunson. They could hide him on Dean Wade last series. They have no guard that they can hide him on in this series. So that would concern me a little bit too.
I think Mitch Robinson's the big wild card of the series.
Yeah.
Because Cat can pull whoever out to the perimeter, i.e. Wemby, whoever else may be. But if you pull Wemby out, for example, those boards are there for the taking. That's where Robinson's, only strength really as a player is rebounding. Now he did have surgery on his broken pinky, so that's something to be said. He's going to play the series, he said, but that to me, I think that's the biggest wild card in the series. People don't talk about Brunson and blah blah blah. I think Mitchell Robinson is probably the biggest key to the series for the Knicks, because if you can control the boards and keep the Spurs to one possessions every time and get rebounds, that's going to help a lot. That will neutralize Wemby to some degree too also.
Yeah, and you wonder if they're going to play a lot of Cat at the 4 and then maybe OG at the 3 and then Bridges at the 2. Maybe it pushes Hart out of the lineup a little bit. Maybe they have to go big with, almost like OKC did, where Chet was at the 4 and Hartenstein was at the 5. Does Mitch have to play 25 to 30 minutes a game and Cat plays mostly at the 4 just because of Wemby's size? I guess we'll find out with that. But as far as his injury, I don't think his injury matters at all, because he is not an offensive threat whatsoever. If he can it's not like it's going to affect his free throw shooting or anything like that. Like, basically, he just needs to be able to body up against Wemby and grab a rebound. So I mean, as long as he can do that, I'm not worried about the injury, because it's not like he's Brunson where like he's relying on his shooting and relying on his scoring. Like, he can't shoot anyway. So I mean,
exactly.
That I'm not concerned about. It's probably
but the problem is now too. Now essentially when he's on the court, you're 4 and 5.
True.
Yeah. So that's only an issue too. Also, so you have to kind of mismatch what's a priority here. And to boot, are the Knicks disciplined enough to commit to that process? Because Wemby's special. Wemby can do whatever he wants, and maybe they play another guard on top of the key with Cat, and that cancels that out. Who knows? I don't know. And so also Spurs defensively have been very impressive too. On top of that. Yeah. So I think they can counter everything, much like OKC can as well too. Also, I think we learned San Antonio's defense. Also, they can defend just as almost on the same level as OKC. I be honest with you, before the series started, I would have said the Knicks won the Spurs as opposed to the Thunder because of how they played this year. But as the series went on and look at the situation with the injuries, if you're a Knicks fan, you want the Thunder.
Yeah,
you want the Thunder because they're not at full, they're not whole, and even if you get Jalen Williams back. Jim Williams is not at full strength. Obviously, the hammy's going to be an issue going through the summer. Angel Mitchell, who knows when he's getting back? So I think if you were the Knicks, you probably wanted the Thunder instead. Because at least they're one dimensional. The Spurs aren't anything but, and we learned that in Game 7 against the Thunder on Saturday. So you taking the Spurs in this series, and how many games?
6.
Same. Me too. 6. But I will say this is not a disrespect to the Knicks, and Knicks fans, calm your ass down. I know y'all going to start tweeting me and shit and saying, "Oh, you're such a hater." Blah, 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 blah. No, it's just that the Knicks might have probably as good a roster as San Antonio. Probably. What's the difference here between the two teams, though? San Antonio got that guy, and that guy is special, and there's nobody that can stop that guy on your team. Good luck.
I actually think defensively they'll be okay against San Antonio. Like, I think that the Knicks can be fine in that respect. They could probably try and push Wemby a little further out. My issue is just going to be like, how are they scoring at the other end, and is Cat getting into foul trouble? Like, there are going to be times where Brunson's going to get blown by and things of that nature. I think that San Antonio will miss enough shots that the Knicks will be okay. Mm-hmm. Because of the youth, like you said. Like, I don't think that Castle or Harper are necessarily like knockdown 3-point shooters, but I don't know. I just look at the whole, and I feel like there are a few more matchup advantages that San Antonio has that they can sort of pick on, which hasn't been the case so far for the Knicks, but it's something that we've worried about all season. And now that you're playing the best team that you're going to face, those might show up again. So we'll see.
Yeah. But we're not on the same page. We both have Knicks and Spurs rather in 6. So we'll see how it plays out. That's Wednesday night, Game 1. By the way, what are the NBA and NHL doing? Putting the same series in the same day. Both the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals start the same day.
I'm pretty sure that the hockey starts tomorrow on Tuesday.
Someone told me it was on Wednesday also. I'm like, no, they're not this stupid.
No, I'm pretty sure that
good.
The opening night of
Thank you.
The NHL is. I mean, yeah. I can check it now, but
yeah. Because someone said I remember I was on a podcast at my job, and he said it was June 3rd. I'm like, are you sure about that? They're not that stupid.
No, it's June 2nd and 4th in Raleigh. So
Thank you, thank you.
they're not on the same
I was
night.
so I should have checked myself because honestly I would have flipped the link. All right, so anyway, all right, some news and notes here. So last week when we got off the air, so I saw a report because we've been talking about like the Cavs in the future and the possibility of what they can do to improve their roster to get over the hump, and we've been discussing the idea of LeBron James going back home to end it all because obviously he'd be a free agent this summer and all that. Well, reportedly LeBron James said he will not. Well, according to Brian Windhorst that LeBron James will likely not take a massive discount to facilitate a third stint in Cleveland. Right now, the Cavs situation is very tight with their cap. They can only afford LeBron at about $3 million under a normal situation. For context, LeBron made over $52 million last year. He's not prepared to take that kind of pay cut. For something to be viable, based on this situation, they want LeBron. The Cavs have to complete its roster to overhead or execute any highly complex, asset-heavy sign trade, something the front office may hesitate to do given his age. So as it stands, this deflates really the idea of the Cavs going after him. And I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not, if this is all just putting things in the ether. Because, look, if LeBron is not an idiot. If LeBron wants to win another title, and the narrative matters to him, especially going back to Cleveland for a third time to save him, because essentially that's what they're doing is saving him. Because look how they played in the fucking conference finals. He's not an idiot. You have to know that. Okay, we know you're still really good, but you need to have a competitive roster at your age to even have a shot of getting to the finals, much less winning it. Okay, and I don't think he's going to take $54 million. Now, could he work with him and maybe give him 25 or 30? Maybe. But I don't understand why LeBron. I'm just taking these rumors face value. If titles matter to you, why won't you do the thing that you need to do to go win a title? Because if you just go sign with the Cavs straight up with no changes to the roster, off the rip, I put the Cavs the favorite in the East next year. Off the rip. So why would you just do that? Why would you want to risk, having to, shut down your roster, change your roster up just to get there, to make your roster worse now, even though you're there. You're not 31 years old anymore. You're 41. Read a room. But maybe this is him. Maybe this is this outside negotiating here. Maybe this is all bullshit. I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple things. I mean, I thought I saw a quote from him saying that he would be willing to take less only if it was the right situation. But I mean, less is a relative term. I mean,
that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I mean,
54 last year, maybe 52.
Less could be. Yeah, less could be. I'll take 34 instead of 54, but I'm not going to take, the mid-level exception, for some team at 11 or 12. So I mean, less again could mean anything. I mean, look, he's going to have to take less if he wants to keep playing and he wants to win a title, because none of the teams that are title ready have space to just give $54 million out. So, that's the issue right there. Like, unless he wants to go to Chicago or Washington or Brooklyn to play, I just don't see how he makes it work with any team. And look, some of this could just be going back and forth with the Lakers to make the Lakers seem like the bad guy, like, oh, they were disrespecting me, and so they pushed to go somewhere else. So I mean, there could be some of that too. But there isn't really a good team that's title ready, which, at his age, he's got 1 year left, maybe 2 at the most. I mean, like, until he retires. We talk about Giannis only having 2 years left, like in his prime, but he'll still be able to play NBA basketball. Like, I'm assuming that in 2 years, LeBron's going to retire, if not after this season. So I mean, he's got to go to a ready-made championship contender, and how many of those have a lot of money to offer?
Yeah,
and if you're Cleveland, are you trading Evan Mobley for a bunch of stuff to then just open up space to sign a guy who's 41 Like, that doesn't make sense.
No.
And even if you trade Jared Allen, which they'd probably be fine doing.
But that's the one you want to move. If you can move that salary slot, yeah, it'd be great for them.
But what are you getting back? Like, they need a rim running center. Essentially, they need a Daniel Gafford type player.
Right.
Jared Allen fits that because you've got James Harden on your roster, and I'm assuming that Harden is coming back. It's not like that. They've
got. They said that he's working on the comeback next year.
Yeah, so. I mean the wink deal. I think they came up with him was decline your player option and we'll give you a 2-year, $60 million deal. So him making 30 a year instead of 42 a year gets them under the second apron. They can now aggregate salaries. They can move a Max Strus. They can do all that. So I don't know that they're going to necessarily blow up their team to accommodate a 41-year-old, but then where does he go that's title ready that doesn't need to be blown up to accommodate the salary that he wants?
Right, great. And not only that, like you mentioned about how like he's probably trying to piss off the Lakers. Like, correct me if I'm wrong here, and this is all conjecture and opinion here. Why would Lakers want him back anyway? I don't think Lakers want him. I know they said things after the season was over. I don't think they want him. I think they want him to go away.
Well, the only reason you'd want him is if Austin Reeves signs elsewhere. So, I mean, if the Bulls or the Nets say we're going to give him 4 years, $180 million, and the Lakers aren't willing to match that number because they don't think they can fill out the rest of their roster, then you might have to bring him back. So I mean, I think there's a couple dominoes that will affect.
I think right now they prefer Austin Reeves over LeBron James right now, in just right now, 2026, 2027.
Totally, but Austin Reeves is going to be a free agent. So I mean, if he can get more money elsewhere,
he's restricted, right?
No, I believe I think he's a free agent.
Wow.
Like, I think he can sign. Like, I think he's an unrestricted free agent.
Wow. Okay. I think they'll find it.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that he had his last deal was his restricted free agent deal, where he agreed to that 4-year, $60 million deal or whatever was seen as like a really low value contract to stay with the Lakers. And I think now he will be opting out of that, becoming an unrestricted free agent, and he could, make a ton of money with the Lakers or elsewhere.
All right, I'll tell you right now. So he signed the 4-year deal with the Lakers. Wait, I just see that right? Let me see. He has this summer. He's probably going to option now. He's a player option.
Yeah, which you would imagine he would decline so that he can sign.
He's going to sign out of that, yeah.
Yeah, a much bigger deal.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. He's making his market value right now, without question. Yeah. And I think they'll find a way to make that work. It's the Lakers. He'll make it work because LeBron not being there, and I think also too with the way they struck, like Austin Reeves is a cadet that Luke needs. Honestly,
yeah.
LeBron disrupts that. Actually, in my opinion. So I think whatever the numbers he wants to get, they'll find a way to get close to the numbers. LeBron is. I'd rather let both walk at this point. If Austin Reeves can't come to a deal, you still don't sign LeBron James because, he's not going to help your team at this point. Bigger picture, you're going year to year with this guy. What's the point? If you sign LeBron again next year, to sell tickets, and in any case, you're already selling out games without LeBron. You're the Lakers, quite out loud. You have Luka already. So I don't understand why it's even a conversation. I think Austin Reeves is the number one priority to the Lakers, not LeBron James.
I agree too. But Austin Reeves has a say in where he goes as well. It's not all up to the Lakers.
Yes, I think I don't know this, but I think Austin Reeves wants to stay in LA. I think it's very I've had a guess. Wants to stay in LA. So
yeah.
All right. Right. One more thing. One more thing. We'll talk to real quick. Actually, two things. Actually, I want to touch on real quick. So I mentioned earlier about Rich Paul setting social media ablaze all weekend about his take. And now I already reacted to this on my show yesterday with Rob the Genius. Basically him saying that Michael Jordan would be 0-6 in the finals without Scottie Pippen. Here's the entire take for people who didn't know what he was saying. We'll play it about a minute and a half clip here.
right? They're just not, right? Scottie Pippen rings, those 6, they're not the same as Michael Jordan's. Right. They're not the same as LeBron James.
But they're pretty good.
But they're good. They're good. If there's some sidekick rings,
I think Scottie's rings are just the same as Michael Jordan's. Why not?
Because he won the best player on the team.
Yeah, but he was the most impactful player on the team.
I get it.
What do you mean he wasn't?
Listen, I get it.
If you unplug Scottie Pippen off that team,
sure.
Jordan's 0 for 6.
Sure,
could be.
Who knows? But
could
be.
But if you
replace
Scottie, but replace Scottie Pippen with another All-Star. No one does it without another All-Star.
Replace
him with another All-Star. He's going to win more than one.
You can replace him with another All-Star, but just because it's an All-Star don't mean it's Scottie Pippen.
No question. I'm not saying 6. I'm saying, but you're going to win some.
How many All-Stars are going to be willing to take a back seat knowing
100% of every All-Star who ever lived?
That's not true.
If you're playing with Jordan, you got no choice.
No, that's not true because, again, this is where you got to really dive into the type of player. You're talking about just All-Star. Okay, remove that, All-Star. But you're talking about a guy that's 6'9", that plays both sides of the ball, that is 6'7", whatever. He got a 7'3" wingspan, right? He can initiate the offense. The best, you had 3 guys on that team, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, that were on the all defensive team.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. Ron Harper should have been on it too.
Ron Harper, and that was after Harp had the knee issue.
I don't care what anyone says. Dennis Rodman, greatest defender I've ever seen. Yeah.
No one's arguing with
including
you with that.
Pippen.
Yeah. No. Well, again, so you had 2 guys who you can argue that was the greatest defensive player you've ever seen.
No question.
I'm not discrediting anything. All I'm saying is I also don't agree with you guys kind of saying what Steph rings isn't, because
the same.
All right. So in listening to this a second time, 2 days in a row, Rich's framing of the argument actually makes sense. I actually agree with him on the framing of the argument. Now, I caught some heat when I reacted to this, when I said that Rich Paul's wrong. Michael Jordan would not be 0-6 in the finals. He'd be 0-0. He don't get there without Pippen. And I based that, Greg, on not just pie in the sky talk, blah, blah, blah. I based that on who they actually faced in those 6 years. Not just the finals, but leading to the finals. And this is where not to sound like an arrogant prick here, but when I tell people on social media that they don't remember who the Bulls faced in the first round of the playoffs in 91, 92, well, I do, off the rip. I don't have to really think about it. I know who they faced. So I'm basing on my knowledge of who they faced in real time at the time. And my basis was the fact that I don't think they get through certain teams in specific years because if you remove Pippen, now that team is massively flawed in ways that Pippen, in the things that Pippen provided as a player. Michael Jordan still gets his. I've always said the difference between Michael Jordan pre-1991 first title and post-1991 first title is not him. Jordan, even losing to Detroit every year, still got his 35 points a game. Jordan still balled. They never stopped Jordan. It's everybody else that played like shit. Okay? The difference between the Bulls pre- and post-91 is Pippen's elevation. Pippen figured it out. The intangibles. As a defensive player also, too, on top of that trap defense, all that. Pippen was the best defender in basketball. The other guy next to him was the guy his teammate, Michael Jordan. So I'm basing it on the situation. I don't think they beat New York in 92, for example, in the second round of playoffs. Without Pippen, they don't beat Phoenix. They don't beat New York in the conference finals in 93. I don't think they beat Indiana 98 in the conference finals without Pippen, or they beat New York 97. So I'm basing on the actual conjecture what was at the time. And to boot, my argument was that you can't just replace anyone with Pippen because there was no comp to Pippen in the league at the time. The only other guy that was close to Pippen in terms of like the talent and versatility was Michael Jordan. It is on your team already. That's it. Now, having said that, my boy Rob on the podcast last night, he said last night, I'm going to clip that actually, that entire piece of that conversation for the socials because I think it's going to be a very interesting take. He said, he brought up 2 guys actually, but one guy that he brought up was actually, it made sense. He said for the first 3 repeat for the Bulls, you could put Dominique Wilkins in that spot. And I argued, okay, so Dominique Wilkins is a better offensive talent than Pippen. But he is nowhere in the stratosphere of Pippen as a defender. And the Bulls, especially back then, I don't know if you remember the Bulls back then. Yeah, Jordan Pippen, but no. The reason they were so dominant was not because of that. Was their fucking defense was insane. Their front court, their full court presses was no one could stop. No one could contend with that. And Pippen was the anchor of that thing. So and to boot, people say, well, Dominic will give you 30 points a game. Yeah, but if you're doing that, now you take the ball in Jordan's hands now. You don't want that either. So I think people are, this is not to knock Jordan at all. This is to give you the value of Pippen and give you the value of all the things he provided that you cannot find on a stat sheet. That's all I was saying. So the 0-0 thing might be a little bit of a stretch, but here's the thing, one thing is true. He may not go 0-6, but he ain't going 6-0. That's a damn sure. So your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's you're right about all that, and it's kind of an absurd hypothetical because if you're taking away Pippen, are you then also taking away an all-star from the teams that they're playing against? Are you taking away, John Stockton from the Jazz when they play Malone and the Jazz, and
No, we're not. Pippen.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're just taking away Pippen and the other teams get to stay all the same, I think he's right about that. But to your point, they don't even get past that point if you're just pretending Scottie Pippen never existed. And also, look, I mean, Jordan himself pretty much acknowledged this without acknowledging it by putting out that documentary that basically did everything it could to discredit Pippen's entire career. Mm-hmm. If he wasn't so sensitive about it, he wouldn't have, he wouldn't have tried to portray Pippen as just some guy. I mean, Pippen is, a top 75 player of all time in the NBA, and that's what I've always said about this debate is that it's not like Jordan played with a bunch of bums and LeBron played with, Kyrie and Wade and Bosh. Like, Jordan had great players too. And you could make the argument Pippen was better than any player that LeBron played with as his Robin to his Batman.
I've always said that Pippen was the greatest number 2 of all time, and here's why. People get defensive about that. But no. Follow me what I'm saying here. I always view Kobe Shaq as 1A, 1B. Like, there was probably a time where Shaq was the clear number 1, but that changed year to year. As they went into the tenure, into the three-peat, it almost became even between Kobe and Shaq. Mm-hmm. Okay? Pippen was always the clear number 2. So when I say that Batman Robin, that is literally the Batman Robin. Like, Pippen never challenged Jordan for that mantle as best player on the team, ever, when Jordan was there anyway, okay? Whereas Kobe and Shaq did. There's a case of Dwayne and LeBron that maybe for 1 year, Dwayne was on level with LeBron in terms of like the leadership and all that stuff. Certainly the first year at Miami, they did that. Dwayne Wade ceded that lane to LeBron from years 2 to 4 because that was the correct way to go. Mm-hmm. But Scottie Pippen was, it's not an opinion, he was the clear number 2 because his role as number 2 was defined. He was never getting more shots than Jordan. It was never built around Pippen in terms of being a shot maker. But Pippen still could get 25 plus a game if he needs to. But Pippen's thing, and this is why I keep saying this is important to know basketball and to watch the games back then. Because I being 46 years old, I watched all of Jordan's titles in real time. I remember where I was with all 6 titles. At 11 years old, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18 years old. I know exactly where I was when I watched all those finals. Pippen as a defender, flip series. Magic Johnson on record 91. That series changed. And I know this for a fact because you watch the series, you can tell. That series is like it's changed 91 when Pippen drew the assignment of Magic Johnson in that series. Because once Pippen started disrupting Magic from the word go for the entire court, that series pretty much ended there because he's disrupted so much to the point now where the Lakers couldn't get into their offense. Same thing with the Jazz series. He guarded Stockton. His length disrupted the Jazz offense. Same with the Suns in '93. I guess his length disrupted Kevin Johnson. So, but you got to find that in a stat sheet.
Well, I mean, the easy thing to find on a stat sheet is when LeBron, when MJ took his baseball hiatus, they went from 55 wins to 54 wins, and they still
57 wins to 55 wins.
57 to 55. Okay,
Yeah.
but I mean, we're still within 1 or 2
Yeah.
games. It wasn't as if they went from LeBron's 60 wins to 19 wins once he left. So I mean, Pippen was clearly a guy who was capable of carrying a team to over 50 wins when Jordan wasn't there. So I mean, he was clearly capable of being that lead guy.
Of course, when you say that, Greg, now the Jordan stands are going to get on my ass saying, "Oh well," or your ass as well too, saying, "Oh well." So you're saying LeBron's better than Jordan? No, in fact, I still got Jordan and LeBron, but I'm also not going to be lazy and saying, "Oh, because 6-0." That's not the reason why I have Jordan number 1. It's other reasons why I have Jordan over LeBron. High enough powers. Period. So we're just having a contextual conversation about that. We're not going to sit there and demonize one guy just to put other. And to boot, Rich Paul, he's an asshole for this though, because Rich Paul is the same guy that gets mad when we call LeBron number 2 all the time. Because that's his best friend, his agent, all that stuff. Like, come on, we know what you're doing, Rich Paul. Come on, we know what you're doing. Stop.
I'm using that record to bolster Scottie's case of his greatness.
Bingo. That's my point. Thank you, Greg. That's my point.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to say how good Scottie Pippen was that Ente could leave and he could still lead a team to over 50 wins. That's all I'm saying with that.
Absolutely. So that's my larger point of that. That's why people got mad at me about the 0-0 thing, because I don't think. Okay, so Rob did say last night, because him and I are, especially in the 90s basketball, very knowledgeable. He did break down year to year what years that if you insert Dominique Wilkins into the Pippen slot, for example, right? What years they probably could have at least gotten to the finals. He said 91, definitely, because the trek was pretty easy there. They beat the Knicks in the first round. That was easy. Sixers, second round, Barkley was great, but everything was kind of meh. And then the Pistons by that point in 91 was already on his last legs because they were just beat from 3 years straight going to the finals. Okay, so there was a sieve there. I still question they could beat Detroit again, but Detroit was not the same team anyway. So maybe they get there in 91, but 92 they don't get there. 93 they definitely don't get there. 90 because I think New York beats them in the conference finals. 96. The next team is really good because they add Kukoc, they add Ron Harper, knees and all. I think if Dominique's a little older at this point now, but I still think there's a case in 96 they might get there. They don't beat Seattle though in the finals. 97 I don't think they get there. Now they might get lucky because there's always been this thing with the 97 Knicks. Had they not gotten screwed by the referees in that game 5 against the Heat in the second round of playoffs, remember the big fight with PJ Brown and Charlie Ward?
Yep.
That Knicks team could have beaten New York with Pippen, for the record. But Miami got lucky. And look, I say that as a diehard Heat fan for 38 years. The Heat got lucky in that series. Because if those suspensions doesn't happen in Game 5, the Heat lose in 6 games. We're not having that conversation. So if New York plays Chicago in the conference finals as opposed to Miami, that thing's over. I think New York wins that series. That was actually the best Knicks team I think we saw in that decade. That never got there. And then 98, I don't think they beat Indiana without Pippen. I just think because that Bulls team was on its last legs.
Yeah.
So people who get mad but don't understand context, I literally just broke it down for you year by year why I think this is the case. There you go.
Yeah.
Don't at me.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. One thing I want to add. I know I didn't have this on the docket, but I forgot to add this. Joe Mazulla won Coach of the Year last week. If I'm not mistaken, didn't you have him as well, Coach of the Year?
Yeah.
So you agree with this, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a regular season award, and they overachieved by the most and put themselves in a position to where we thought that they could get to the finals. So, I'm not taking into account what happened in the playoffs because the voting happened before then. So he was my pick, and I wasn't really surprised that he won that.
I can't remember who I had exactly. I might have Mazulla too, though. I can't remember exactly.
Bickerstaff, maybe?
Maybe. Detroit, right? Yeah. Maybe. Mazulla was amazing though. Mazulla was fantastic this year, and free Tatum return. I mean, if you told me the Boston Celtics would be the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference for most of the year, I would have called you a liar. But here we are. So great job on Mazulla. 3 years removed from almost getting fired, and now this guy's coach. Now, to be fair, Greg, Coach of the Year could be a curse also too. Get fired within 2 years after they win the award.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I mean, it doesn't, and even Mazulla downplayed the importance of the award and talked about his staff and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, it doesn't mean because he wins this award that he gets to stay there for 20 years.
Exactly. If that can be a curse.
Yeah.
It's an overrated award because Phil Jackson is considered by many the greatest of all time. He has won. He has won the award only one time in his career.
Yeah.
And it was actually that 94 the year we discussed when about Jordan. So there you go. Anyway, Greg, good job as always, man. Anything you want to plug? Nope.
Nope. Just watching the games, and I'll be here next week.
Where can they find you on X?
Basically the same handle with the number 2 at the end of it. So G Hrinya NBA with the number 2 following it.
All right. And of course, I'm on X at EJ Christian 7. Of course, NBA show. We'll come back to probably our regular time next Tuesday. We'll see how I gotta set an NBA schedule, final schedule links up first. And we'll figure all that out. But we'll talk to you guys next week. Later.
Go Heat, bitch.